So we'll study about the digestion of proteins and amino acids in this session. See the slides carefully and follow what I am reading and explaining. Cooking causes denaturation of proteins, therefore they are easily digested. So whatever the food that we are using, we eat mostly the cooked food. We don't eat raw food. Why we are cooking the food? Because the cooking causes denaturation of proteins and makes the digestion easy. So for that matter, we are cooking the food substances and then we are eating. So the purpose of cooking is making the digestion easy. So proteins, the diet which we are eating will contain carbohydrates, proteins, lipids and mixed variety of diet we consume. So coming to the digestion of proteins, the cooking causes denaturation of proteins. So therefore it can be digested easily. The proteolytic enzymes include endopeptidases and exopeptidases. The proteolytic enzymes include endopeptidases and exopeptidases. We will see about these endopeptidases and exopeptidases. Endopeptidases, what they do is they attack internal bonds and liberate large peptide fragments. So endopeptidases, what they will do, they attack on the internal bonds. Internal bonds means like peptide bonds. You have studied the amino acid chemistry in your first year. So there in the proteins, all the amino acids are linked to each other by peptide bonds, hydrogen bonds, hydrophobic interactions, then van der Waals forces, sulfide linkage, disulfide linkages. Like this, there are different bonds are there in the proteins depending upon its organization, structural organization. So such a complex proteins, when we are taking in the diet, during the process of digestion, what will happen? These complex proteins are made into simple proteins and releases the free amino acids which will be absorbed. So for this digestion process, we have lot of enzymes like endopeptidases and exopeptidases. These endopeptidases and exopeptidases are called as proteolytic enzymes. Proteolytic means they cleave the proteins, they break the proteins. So endopeptidases, what they do, they attack the internal bonds and liberate large peptide fragments like pepsin, trypsin, chymotrypsin, elastase. These are some examples for the endopeptidase enzymes. Pepsin, trypsin, chymotrypsin, elastase. These enzymes are examples for endopeptidases. What they do, they break the internal bonds and liberate large peptide fragments. Now exopeptidases. Exopeptidases remove one amino acid at a time from carboxy terminal. Exopeptidases remove one amino acid at a time from carboxy terminal. So if you remember the protein structure, the amino acids are linked by peptide bonds, and one end of the protein is called as carboxy terminal or C terminal, and the other end of the protein is called as N terminal, which consists of amino group. So these exopeptidases, they remove one amino acid from the protein at a time from carboxy terminal. So example, if you take carboxy peptidase is an exopeptidase which removes the amino acid from the carboxy terminal, C terminal, or amino terminal. If the amino acid is removed from the N terminus, then that enzyme is aminopeptidase. So carboxy peptidases can remove the amino acids from the C terminus of the protein. Aminopeptidases removes one amino acid from amino terminal or N terminal of the protein. Endopeptidases are important for initial breakdown of long polypeptides into smaller ones, which are then attacked by the exopeptidases. So endopeptidases are important for initial breakdown. Means endopeptidases, I told you, they cut the inner bonds, inner peptide bonds. Endopeptidases are first starting the breakdown of proteins and results in the formation of long or large polypeptides. Then these polypeptides are attacked by exopeptidases, which makes them into smaller ones. Understand? Now let us see the digestion of amino acids and proteins. So enzymes, most of the digestive enzymes are secreted in inactive form. They are called as proenzymes or zymogens, because if the enzymes, digestive enzymes, are active all the time, what can happen? They can act on our digestive intestinal cells itself and can cause damage to the intestinal cells. So that is why these digestive enzymes will be secreted in inactive form. They are called as zymogens or proenzymes, and they are activated by removal of a particular small peptide from them, so that they become active. So this is because to prevent autolysis of cells from which enzymes are synthesized. Autolysis means these enzymes are secreted by the intestinal cells or gastric cells. Means the intestinal cells or digestive tract cells only producing these digestive enzymes. If they are produced as active enzymes, what can happen? They can digest on the cells which are secreting these enzymes itself. That is called autolysis. So to prevent this autolysis of cells from these digestive enzymes, they are initially secreted as inactive enzymes called zymogens or proenzymes. Later on, they are activated by removal of some particular peptide group from these enzymes, so that they become active. So autocatalysis means it is the process by which a small quantity of active enzyme catalyzes the conversion of zymogen to active enzyme. So this activation of these zymogens takes place by autocatalysis. Autocatalysis is a process by which a small quantity of active enzyme catalyzes the conversion of zymogen to active enzyme. So by the process of autocatalysis, what happens? These zymogens or inactive digestive enzymes or proenzymes will become active by this autocatalysis process. So digestive enzymes are secreted in the form of zymogens initially. Later on, they are activated by autocatalysis. Then they help in digestion. Here, see, I have given some reactions catalyzed by the digestive enzymes on proteins. See, the proenzymes, I told you that the digestive enzymes are secreted as proenzymes or zymogens. Later on, they are becoming active enzymes. For example, you take pepsinogen. Pepsinogen is an inactive form of the pepsin. Pepsinogen is activated by the secretion of hydrogen ions in the stomach. Stomach, you know, stomach gas, gastrin is produced, HCl is produced. So this HCl contains hydrogen ions. This hydrogen ions is responsible for the activation of pepsinogen into pepsin. Then once this pepsin is active, it acts on peptide bonds on proteins and cleaves them into large polypeptides. Then trypsinogen is another zymogen which is activated to trypsin by enteropeptidase. So enteropeptidase acts on this trypsinogen and converts it into trypsin. Similarly, now this trypsin, once it is activated, it acts on chymotrypsin and converts into chymotrypsinogen and converts this chymotrypsinogen to chymotrypsin. Then this trypsin again can act on proelastase and converts into elastase. Activated trypsin acts on procarboxypeptidases and converts them into carboxypeptidases. So like this, these active enzymes can activate the other zymogens into active enzymes and all collectively act on the diet and converts this, helps in the protein digestion. Okay. So digestion of proteins can be divided into three phases: gastric phase, pancreatic phase, and intestinal phases. We will see one by one each phase, and what is the digestion that is taking place in that particular phase also we will see now. Gastric phase. In the gastric phase means the digestion of proteins in the stomach. So gastric phase includes the digestion of proteins in the stomach. So the gastric phase, pepsin is the key enzyme which helps in the digestion of proteins. Now pepsin is secreted as pepsinogen. As I told you earlier, it is secreted as a zymogen, that is called pepsinogen. It is an endopeptidase. Endopeptidases, I told you, they cleave internal bonds. Now pepsinogen, because of the strong acidic pH in the stomach, gets activated to pepsin. So pepsin is formed from pepsinogen because of the HCl in the stomach. Now once pepsin is formed from pepsinogen, it starts its digestion on proteins. This pepsin converts proteins into polypeptides. It is specific for peptide bonds formed by aromatic and dicarboxylic amino acids. Pepsin is able to cleave the proteins where the aromatic amino acids and dicarboxylic amino acids. Dicarboxylic amino acids means acidic amino acids. So where the aromatic amino acids and acidic amino acids are present in the proteins, there this pepsin will go and cleave the peptide bonds. For example, you take casein. Casein is a milk protein which is digested in the stomach. It is digested by the enzyme called renin. This is only seen in case of infants who are on milk feed. After 5 years of the growth, this renin cannot be seen. It can be seen only in infants and children up to the age of 5 years. So after the 5 years of age, this renin action will be very less. So this renin is a enzyme that acts on milk protein called casein and converts this casein into paracasein. Okay, in case of infants and children below the age of 5 years. So this is the digestion that is happening in the stomach. This is the digestion by pepsin takes place in the stomach. This phase is called gastric phase. Now the second phase is called pancreatic phase. So in case of pancreatic phase, once the food that is digested by pepsin in the stomach moves from the stomach into the duodenum, in the duodenum this hepatopancreatic biliary duct opens and it releases the pancreatic juice, which consists of bile juice, pancreatic juice as well. This pancreatic juice and bile juice, they make the pH of the food to alkaline condition. If you see the pH in the stomach is acidic because of the presence of HCl. Almost 1 to 2 or 2 to 3 pH is maintained in the stomach. A highly acidic pH is maintained in the stomach. As the digestion of proteins is over by the action of pepsin in the stomach, the food moves from the stomach into the duodenum. In the duodenum, the food is mixed with the pancreatic juice and bile juice. Because of this pancreatic juice and bile juice, the pH of the food changes to alkaline condition, means it is more than 7. So means the food is made alkaline. Now in this alkaline condition, the pancreatic juice contains many enzymes which are responsible for the digestion of proteins. Pancreatic juice secretion stimulated by the cholecystokinin and pancreogymin. So once the food enters into the duodenum, the production of cholecystokinin and pancreogymin takes place, and this stimulates the secretion of pancreatic juice into the duodenum. So this pancreatic juice again contains both endopeptidases and exopeptidases. Endopeptidases of pancreatic juice include trypsin, chymotrypsin, elastase, and exopeptidases enzymes include carboxypeptidase. Carboxypeptidase can remove the amino acids from the C-terminus of the proteins. Now all these enzymes like trypsin, chymotrypsin, elastase, carboxypeptidase, they act on proteins and polypeptides released from the stomach to produce polypeptides of smaller size, peptides or oligopeptides, or mixed kind of polypeptides, oligopeptides and small peptides will be released because of the digestion of these proteins by these enzymes in the pancreas. So this is the pancreatic phase of digestion. Here you can see the summary. Trypsinogen is an inactive zymogen of trypsin activated by the enterokinase to trypsin. Once the trypsin is activated, it acts on basic proteins by splitting peptide bonds. In the stomach, acidic amino acids and aromatic amino acids are cleaved by pepsin. In the pancreatic phase, trypsin acts on the proteins where the basic proteins are present. So where the basic proteins are present, this trypsin will go and cut the peptide bonds and releases the polypeptides, proteases, peptones and oligopeptides. Now chymotrypsinogen is activated by trypsin enzyme and converted to chymotrypsin. Proelastase is also activated by trypsin and converted to elastase. So chymotrypsin and elastase, they further act on the proteins in the pancreatic phase of the protein digestion, and they cleave these basic amino acids mainly and releases the amino acids or polypeptides, oligopeptides or peptones. So chymotrypsin converts protein to peptone and elastase into peptides. Carboxypeptidases A and B, what they do, they remove the amino acids from the C-terminus. So one by one they start releasing the free amino acids, carboxypeptidases. So both are exopeptidases, means chymotrypsin, elastin, carboxypeptidase A and B, they are all exopeptidases. They act mainly at the pH of 7.5, which is alkaline pH, and they cannot hydrolyze as the dipeptidase. So they can only hydrolyze polypeptides, peptones and oligopeptides, but they cannot hydrolyze dipeptides. So up to the dipeptides, carboxypeptidase A and B will do digestion in pancreatic phase. In this, you can see the diagram how the digestion of proteins taking place by different enzymes in the pancreatic phase. So this phase ends with the release of free amino acids and small peptides of 2 to 8 amino acids length, which accounts for 60% of protein digestion. So this diagram you can see this is the dietary protein. You can see dietary protein arrow mark I am showing here. So NH3 plus is there, means this is N terminus. The other side if you see COO minus is there, that is called C terminus. Carboxypeptidase A and carboxypeptidase B, they can hydrolyze the amino acids from the C terminus end. So they can release one amino acid from the C terminus so that the free amino acids are released. Chymotrypsin and trypsin, they mainly act on the basic amino acids. Elastase can act on oligopeptides and makes them polypeptides, and they convert these polypeptides into peptones and peptides. Further, it can be hydrolyzed by carboxypeptidase A and B. Ultimately, you will get dipeptides and small oligopeptides at the end of the digestion in case of pancreatic phase. Now moving on to the third phase in protein digestion, that is intestinal phase. So in the intestinal phase, once the food enters from the duodenum, it enters into the small intestine, and in the intestine, the intestinal enzymes will continue the further digestion of proteins. Aminopeptidases we have. So these aminopeptidases, what they do, they attack the proteins or oligopeptides from the amino terminus, means N terminus. So aminopeptidases removes the amino acids from the N terminus by breaking the peptide bonds from the N terminal end or amino terminal end of the polypeptides. Again, these aminopeptidases cannot hydrolyze dipeptides. So their digestion takes place up to the formation of dipeptides, means two amino acids linked by one peptide bond is called dipeptide. So up to that level, the digestion is carried out by these carboxypeptidases or aminopeptidases. Then the enzymes called dipeptidases and tripeptidases bring about the complete digestion of proteins. The dipeptidases and tripeptidases bring about the complete digestion of proteins and releases the free amino acids as end product in the intestine. So this is intestinal phase of protein digestion. So here I have given the summary of protein digestions. So dietary proteins, what we take through the diet. In the stomach, digestion takes place by pepsin, is formed from pepsinogen. So in the stomach, you will see the polypeptides formation and release of some amino acids. Then the food moves from the stomach into the duodenum. In the duodenum, pancreatic juice and bile juice is secreted and the pH changes to alkaline condition. Action of the enzymes trypsin, chymotrypsin, elastase and carboxypeptidases A and carboxypeptidase B enzymes takes place. As a result, oligopeptides, dipeptides are formed. Then the food further moves into the small intestine, and in the small intestine, aminopeptidases, di and tripeptidases continue the further digestion of proteins, releasing free amino acids, and these free amino acids are absorbed from the intestine and transported via portal circulation to the liver, and by the addition of further nutrients from the liver, this is transported into the blood circulation and is transported to various organs of the body.